Runescape, a free-to-play MMORPG that needs no introduction. Originally released in 2001, this titan of the genre would serve as an entry point to millions of players into the world of online RPGs, but for me remained unplayed due to what I'm calling being Diablo-dazed at the time, with RuneScape even achieving a world record for the largest and most played MMORPG. Now 21 years later, yes, I know, and with both the original as well as the more contemporary version on offer, today we dive into this legendary title to see what it has to offer players today, exploring its world, taking on its foes, and meeting its inhabitants, some of which are clearly on the quirky side, filling their days slapping chickens in the face with a bunch of flowers. My name's Mitch Mannix, and this is a look into the illustrious world of RuneScape. To begin, as many will know, there are today two alternative versions of this MMO available, those being old school RuneScape and RuneScape 3, with the former being quite self-explanatory as a classic version of the game reminiscent of the experience in the early 2000s, with RuneScape 3 being an overhaul of the original with various enhancements and some alternative features. In this video we will be journeying through the more contemporary RuneScape 3, but covering a comparison to the old school alternative a little later in the video. As for now, let's dive in. As with any adventure, we'll need a hero for our journey, so it's to the character creator we go, with RuneScape sporting a scaled-down set of options reminiscent of its classic beginnings. Regardless, it still functions enough to summon our protagonist, Egbert, for the journey ahead. A man with a head so beautiful, both his haircut and his name serve as a constant reminder of its beauty. Hey. Taking our first steps into the game, we find ourselves on Tutorial Island, a private instance to run through some of the game's basics. RuneScape uses a pseudo top-down perspective, allowing for a more top-down ARPG feel, but with the ability to bring the camera down for those that want more of a third-person perspective while playing. Tutorial Island is headed up by the confusingly dressed Reginald here, who seems happy to see us, with Egbert however looking as if someone just farted into his kettle. We quickly set to work running through the tutorials for cooking, learning how to place a fire, and cooking up some supplies for the adventure, as well as how to use the game's stations for further options when crafting. Along the way, we're also tasked with gathering wood. This is done by smacking a tree with an animation that looks like a toddler trying to get a seagull off of his peanut butter sandwich. Progressing further, we meet the quest guide, who after explaining the quest system, asks us to, quote, "Find some adventure in the cave under my house." Now, for any children watching, if you ever hear an adult say those words to you, I would advise adopting a reaction similar to that what we experienced just moments earlier. Within the worryingly introduced cave system, we are taught more about not only mining, but smelting and crafting using materials found out in the world, with the profession system already looking far more fleshed out than would expect from a reworking of such a classic MMO. Although after experiencing both titles, it's clear that some of that will be down to refining leading up to the more recent release. After crafting a new weapon and encountering some rocks that have seemingly been blessed with the power of piss, we move into the combat training, which on first experience is where I feel a lot of new players picking up the game will be divided. RuneScape even today sports a very mechanical and rigid feeling combat system, which I'm sure will put off some players. What's odd about the tutorial is that now after playing much more of the game, I know that there is in this version far more to the combat mechanics over the older title, and it's odd that this isn't at least partially showcased, as it would work well to show new players exactly what's on offer and what's been added to bring RuneScape in line with more contemporary MMOs before making their mind up about the game. With the lessons of the cave learned, we head back out into the island to continue. Oh, just look at that dome. It's beautiful. Next up, we're introduced to the banking system, carried out by staff who apparently have no need for arms, as well as the prayer system that brings a set of applicable buffs accompanied with its own progression line and abilities to unlock, kindly showcased by Brother Brace here, who I feel is more of a brother to us than he thinks. To conclude the tutorial zone, we make our way to the magic instructor, who talks us through the basics of magic, and with it the teleportation system, which we use immediately to venture out into RuneScape's true explorable environments. Now in the mainland of the game, we meet Turiel, who along with introducing us to the Slayer skill line, one that focuses on missions ridding the land of various evils, also is kind enough to showcase to us the land's Sir Isaac Newton Memorial, which to be honest has seen better days. With our first quest in hand, we set about assisting the locals with a variety of tasks, taking time to cook up some more supplies as well as kit ourselves out with a complete set of new gear, ready to take on the game's first missions, seeking out new evil as well as a boss of sorts, with the game taking time to congratulate Egbert every once in a while for his skill advancement in the most epic of ways. As you may be able to see here, the more up-to-date version of RuneScape does feature a far more expansive combat system than its old-school counterpart, with the addition of far more on-the-fly abilities to utilize, as well as the adrenaline bar allowing for generating and spending resource on attacks. RuneScape 3's combat definitely feels more in line with most MMOs around today, but also, most likely due to its source material, retains its dated and rigid feeling combat encounters, especially when coupled with its click-to-move system. With our first notable victory obtained, Egbert returns to town to set about planning his next move, which, after some deliberation murdering the local wildlife and looking like a psychopath, he decides was to set aside his sword and board armor-clad attire for a life of mastering the wizarding arts, and quickly set about crafting a new set of digs to accompany his new career choice, as well as checking out some of the game's alternative options for animations, some of which were true head-scratchers. What was nice when playing through the game was the choice in which way to go when looking to leveling. Melee, ranged, and magic skills are available from the get-go, with even some subclasses like summoning available to explore. And it was nice to be able to roll a character knowing I could spec into any of my choice. Combat abilities are leveled up using the associated skills, along with quest rewards of XP, with some skills having more universal utility such as defense and agility, and once leveled accompanied by a show of fireworks and more hilarious fanfare. If you find yourself enjoying the video, please consider dropping it a like and letting me know your thoughts down in the comments, as it really helps the channel. If you're a fan of RPGs or even just in for a laugh or two, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss an upload. With a fresh set of gear and newly trained skills, it was time to venture out into the world and see what RuneScape had to offer. Choosing quests from the highly useful quest list provided, getting a chance to meet some of the world's characters and visit a variety of locations. It has to be said that for an overhaul of such a classic title, some of the visuals showcased in RuneScape 3 were right on the money, bringing life through its more cartoon-themed landscapes, with some great use of lighting. The environments, although highly condensed, flowing seamlessly into each other, even when the themes and even the time of day differ from place to place. RuneScape's landscapes themselves are very small, self-contained biomes that have with it their own theme and music to match. And I'm sure this will take some getting used to for those just picking up the game, as feels highly condensed with its zone sizes compared to the vast rolling hills and environments found in more contemporary titles. It was during our exploration that Egbert encountered an entry into the desert biome, with a warning presented to those that enter, something to return to once more powerful, he thought, as who knows what dangers lie within. But for now it was on with the questing, and this is where RuneScape really started to shock me with what it has on offer. While running through the quest content, there was not only a lack of typical kill 10 of these or collect 20 of those, but what there was fully formed, highly narrative-based experiences. Quests like rune mysteries, a multi-quest story around the Mage's Tower secrets, a shadow over Ashdale, and missing presumed death caught me completely by surprise, and were light years away from the content I was expecting to get involved in the title overhaul of a much older MMO. Not to mention a fair amount of the quest content I experienced actually requiring the player to engage their brain with what to do and how they should go about reaching its conclusion. And of course not forgetting the game's iconic soundtrack. The quests mentioned were added to the game in the early 2010s, and some are incredibly well constructed, with some fully voiced and featuring music unique to them, like found in the quest A Piercing Note, a whodunit detective-style murder mystery quest that also sports some of the best voice acting in an RPG I have ever heard. Just listen to this.
I heard the scream. I heard Sister Eleanor screaming. So I went down the stairs to see, and it was there! The river! Just like in the stories. It was wrapped in rags, and it had its huge claws, and it was bending over Sister Eleanor. It was cutting her feet with its claws. Why would it do that? Then it saw me. Turned its head. It looked at me. I couldn't see its face, thanks Saradomin. If I'd seen its face, I think I might have died of fright.
Utterly spine-chilling. I tried to track down the credit for the voice actress, but could only find a list of who was in the quest, so shout out to one of these 6 artists. Incredible work, especially if it was somehow you, Richard. Not all the quests in RuneScape reach such heights, but I for one was surprised with just how high the bar went for the quality of the questing content on offer. Egbert even got a chance at his own Leroy Jenkins moment, which didn't exactly do a lot for his reputation.
Egbert!
With a number of quests under his belt, and after crafting himself a new set of armor from roaming imps, Egbert stumbled upon an invitation to the Demon Helm Peninsula, which ended up being quite a nice addition to the PvE content with its own skill line of dungeoneering. A place to set up groups for delving into dungeon instances, to take on challenges and bosses for skill experience and a chance at some exclusive loot, which was a great change of pace, as well as being a nice example of some of the group content available for those that have friends other than simply being seemingly stalked by small groups of penguins. A nice addition, however, could once again give those more accustomed with more recent releases a bit of a culture shock with its simplicity. After around 30 hours, reaching combat level 35 with an overall level of 281, leveling a number of crafting and gathering professions at times under the watchful eye of some lettuce mages, I was taken in with how frankly relaxing the whole experience had been. Now, I think that the word chill gets used a little too much nowadays, and has lost the real meaning it had. An example.
I hope that you are in the mood for some chill. And the reason I say that is because tonight we are going to have a very chill couple of hours here together in MLB The Show 19. It is time for my very chill stream. Then all of a sudden we break up. Oh, I miss Phil's ex. I miss her. What? You hated her guts. You seriously hated her fucking guts the entire fucking time that we were together. Now we break up. Oh, I miss her. Fuck you. Get the fuck out of here.
Utterly tranquil. RuneScape for me felt like it was actually a really chill experience, and I feel this element will appeal to some a lot more than others. But RuneScape's simplicity, as well as its easy to learn, hard to master approach, felt like the perfect title to turn to when simply wanting to run through a world filled with the core concepts that make MMORPGs enjoyable, without all the complex systems and frantic rushing through content experienced in most recent titles. Of course, this more bare-bones feeling experience will quite rightly give those that are looking for an MMO experience with a multitude of expansive moving parts and features a justifiable feeling like there's not enough to sink their teeth into with either RuneScape offering. But jumping in with a friend or two to experience its free-to-play content will work well to find out if you're one of those players that will get on with this older style of MMORPG. The old-school RuneScape equivalent delves even further into that classic genre as you may expect, not only with its graphical style, but with a much more slowed-down pace and simplistic combat system. Leveling and skilling is much faster in the more recent RuneScape 3, making it a bit more casual-friendly. However, on the PvP side of things, the old-school RuneScape seems to be without a doubt the best place to experience it, over RuneScape 3's tiny PvP player base by comparison. In terms of monetization, it was while adventuring around and leveling up our skills in the first town of Barthorpe that we got our first look into the game's monetization operating model, with a hilariously blunt message. You need to be a member to access this content. Members have access to all game content, including this! Both Old School as well as RuneScape 3 use the same membership model, providing a member with a significant amount of members-only quests, skills, and extra locations to explore. With my time with the early game, I can say that for me at least a fair amount of the most enjoyable content is contained within the free-to-play model, an example being those previously mentioned quests, and as it stands would allow for any would-be players to experience a lot of what makes up the game before considering to member up or not for further content, with another benefit being that the membership actually applies to old-school RuneScape as well as RuneScape 3. On the other side of things, RuneScape has clearly decided to lean quite heavily into its monetization, with loot boxes, premium currencies, and additional premium subscription models with 3 tiers, as well as even charging for access to in-game stats via the game's Rune Metrics Pro service. This seems like a lot, and well, it is. But I managed to experience plenty of content without these additionals, splitting my time 50-50 between free-to-play and subbed to experience a difference. However, the longevity of the game after hundreds of hours into free-to-play could be questioned, with so much behind the membership. Overall, for those looking for a new MMO akin to some of the main players today, we'll have to take a hard look at whether the slowed down, more classic feeling approach of both RuneScape titles will be what they're looking for. For me personally, it is a great game to unwind or take a break from the more high-paced MMO alternatives, while also featuring some shockingly good gems of RPG storytelling and content within its questing, alongside a fantastic sense of humour, a massive amount of combat and profession skills to learn and develop, along with a hefty amount of character in its world. RuneScape as an overall experience I wouldn't say is going to rival its more contemporary competition, but to me at least does serve as one hell of a place to unwind, with some of the core concepts that make the genre great, and I'm sure that there's a multitude of content in the later levels, and I wouldn't mind personally eventually taking out a certain dragon. So if you like the video or perhaps want to see more of this journey, let me know by dropping a like on the video. But for now, Egbert will march forward and bravely step over the threshold into the dangers of the scary desert. Well, you could have asked me for a million years, and I wouldn't have come up with that one. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sat here wearing 4 different jumpers. I really hope you enjoyed the video and I'm keen to get your thoughts down in the comments. I want to give a massive shout out to the channel members who keep the content coming. If you're interested in joining as a channel member for all sorts of perks and exclusives, including exclusive videos, the info's down in the description. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Jesus, calm down!
Oh dear Lord, what have I done?